Hello, people. How's it going? Well, I only have, 5 books to sort of run through for this history part of my thing. Um, as you know, I like history. I do buy a lot of books, I know, but I like books. It's a cloudy, cold, wet, blustery day here in Minnesota. Anyway, the first one is about the Battle of Britain, which my grandfather fought in. This is why I like the Battle of Britain and the Spitfire. This is actually a very good book. Where Eagles Dare. Well, The Duel of Eagles is another book I would recommend on this subject. Why does the computer keep doing that? I'm sorry, it keeps skipping for some reason. But The Battle of Britain, excellent book. I'm gonna have to get a book with better pictures, but there's a picture. I don't know if you can see it very well. I need to figure out how to do this so you can actually see what I'm talking about. My grandfather fought in the Battle of Britain. He fought with a Spitfire. Of course, he survived. Um, I never really got to know him because back then all you did was send letters, and I think there was email. I think tells you how long ago it was. Getting good maps. Anyway, but I did want to give an idea of the Battle of Britain, a little brief history rundown. The Battle of Britain is very interesting. Anyway, date July 10 to October 31, 1940, 3 months, 3 weeks. Location British airspace, English Channel, British victory. Of course it was. Belligerents were, of course, UK and Canada against Germany and the Italians. Commanders and leaders, Hugh Dowding, who, what I have read about the guy, was very British and very, let's just say very British. And it was Hermann Goering. Goering was something else. Anyway, the strength was, oddly enough, 1,963 aircraft, which is the year I was born, 1963. On the British side, on the German side, it was 2,500 aircraft, 2,550 aircraft. Sorry, casualties and losses on the British side, 1,542 killed for the German side, 2,585. 422 wounded on the English side, 735 on the German side. 1,744 aircraft were destroyed. My grandfather, of course, survived, but he might have been shot down, all I know. I keep trying to find information on him. By the way, the 1960, whenever that Battle of Britain movie with Ian McShane and Michael Caine and Christopher Plummer, and I'm sure I'm missing some other people, we stopped doing that. But it's a good movie. On the German side, is 1,977 aircraft were destroyed. 23,000 civilians were killed. 32,100 civilians wounded. The Battle of Britain was a military campaign in the Second World War, of course, in which the Royal Air Force, yay, the good guys, and the Fleet Armed Air, the AFAA, of the Royal Navy, defended the United Kingdom against large-scale attacks by Nazi Germany air forces, the Luftwaffe. The Operation Sea Lion would have failed. Even if they could have invaded, I have a feeling it would have failed. I just don't think it would have worked as well as Hermann Goering and Hitler and Kesselring, who was, stop doing that. My phone. My phone is fighting me. Albert Kesselring was apparently going to lead the land force invasion, but anyway, that's just a few minor details. Well, not minor details, but a few added details. Let's see. I know I put the Battle of Britain in the movie up here. I don't know. 1969. It's actually not a bad film for its time. It's a young Ian McShane, Michael Caine, Christopher Plummer, Susanna York. Come on, you can do this. Thank you. Laurence Olivier. Let's see who else is in this film. Sigler, Carrie Andrews, Robert Shaw. I forgot Robert Shaw was in this film. Amazing how many films Robert Shaw is in and you don't remember him being in them, and you should. But anyway, overall, this is a good book to read. There are other books I could recommend. I like going back to bibliographies and looking for books I may or may not already have. And let's see, I have The Battle of Britain by Richard Townsend Vickers. I have that book. I have, let's see, one more I wanted to mention. Adolf Galan's book, First and Last, which is about the Luftwaffe. I do have that book. That's a pretty good book, too. I even have the biography of Churchill by Roy Jenkins. Trying to find the one on here we go. Leonard Mosley's book on the Iron Reichsmark biography of Hermann Goering. I have. I like history. I collect books because I like history. And the Battle of the Bulge. I should do that next month. Anyway, Battle of Britain is personal to me, and I like it because my grandfather fought in the Battle of Britain. So that's kind of why I like talking about it, finding books on the subject, so on and so forth. This book, let's see, on June 4th to 6th, 1942, Lieutenant Cleus helped sink 3 Japanese warships, cripple the Imperial Navy, and reverse the tide of World War II. Never called me a hero. A legendary American dive bomber pilot remembers the Battle of Midway. The Battle of Midway, they always call it the turning point of the war, and it was, because the Japanese lost pretty much all their carriers. What people don't remember is at the same time the Japanese were invading Alaska. And that they didn't lose. Well, they did eventually, but that invasion actually worked for a little while. It's called The 1,000-Mile War, the Bantam War book. It's very good. Charlton Heston was there. I haven't read this book, so I have no idea. But, I like these personal memoirs. I like these kind of things. The movie Midway during the 70s is okay once it gets past the dumbass love story. The recently made Midway movie is pretty good. Don't get me started on Tora. Well, Tora is fine. It's the Pearl Harbor movie that sucks. That movie is terrible. Okay. Kids are walking by. School's out. I have several books on Midway, like the Battle of New Japan, and I'm sure the Battle of Midway over there. I can't read the author's name from here because my eyesight is getting bad and I need glasses. I could get up and get it, but why not? Come on. I would, if I'm going to read a Battle of Midway, I'd read this one. This one is very good. He's a very good author. The award-winning author of Lincoln and His Admirals, another very good book, but that's the American Civil War. But yes, he wrote a very good, this is a very good book on Midway. Okay, this is an excellent book on the battle. I wish there were better pictures I'd show it to you. But anyway, I like World War II history, as I've said many times before. So, anyway, on to the Emperor of France. This is the first book I can remember reading on not only Napoleon. Oh, they got rid of that thing. Not only on Napoleon, but also on the French history. I didn't get into French history until later. Once I got interested in Napoleon, then I got into French history. But this is a good book. This is a very good book. First book I ever read on the man. Yes, I did buy some French Napoleon books because of the movie that's coming out soon. He was a fascinating guy. I mean, you think of him as a tyrant. He really, maybe toward the end he might have been, but he changed the face of Europe. He did a lot of good things for France. He was quite a very fascinating human being, and I'm really hoping this movie is good. It's coming up with Joaquin Phoenix as the Emperor. But that's a good movie, good book. Excellent book on the Emperor. Very in depth, very well written. If it wasn't well written, I wouldn't have tried to get it again. But anyway, I'm sure if I went through the bibliography, I'd probably have a few of his books. I'll get to that in a minute. This book, of course, is on Waterloo, June 18th, 1815. I do have a book on Wellington by the same author. This is a very good author. Very good. I read this book before a long time ago. It's a very good book, very worth having. He's a good author. I have his book on Wellington, Victoria, George III. He's written about a lot of different people. He is good. So I find on this real fast. Well, I don't know. One, Napoleon wasn't French. He was Corsican. He was Italian. He became French. He made himself French. But let's see. Where's the list? Usually they have a list of other books he's written. But anyway, he's written a book about Wolfe and Agincourt, Wolfe and Quebec. I know he died recently, but excellent book, worth having. He's also a good author, as I said. There is a movie, a 1970s movie about Waterloo, called Waterloo, with Rod Steiger as Napoleon and Christopher Plummer as Wellington. It's an excellent film. It's a Russian-made film. It is very good. It is very good. Rod Steiger plays a very good Napoleon. He kind of looks more like Napoleon than Joaquin Phoenix, but we'll let that pass. As long as the movie is good and historically accurate enough, and when I say that 99.9%, I'll be happy. But anyway. This is The Age of Napoleon. I have to know who the author is. Come on. By J. Christopher Herod. I have to replace this book. It's a good book. I need to replace it with a different copy. Sometimes I buy books and I'm not happy with what they send me. And in this case, this is one of those books that I'm going to have to replace because I'm not happy with this copy. I'm just not. But it's a good book about the age of Napoleon, his influence on Europe, the different personalities he had to deal with, personalities of him and Josephine, him and all the other Waterloo and Auschwitz and French Revolution and coalitions that kept coming after him, and him in Egypt. But anyway, you can say what you want about Napoleon's person, that he was a megalomaniac. Well, excuse me, he was. He was also a brilliant military commander, a brilliant tactician, a brilliant soldier. He won pretty much all the battles until he made mistakes, which was what Waterloo was. Well, not Waterloo. Moscow was his mistake. When he invaded Russia was probably his biggest mistake. Mainly because he made the same mistake Lee made at Gettysburg. He thought he was invincible because he was who he was, and because it should have been obvious what the Russians were doing by drawing him in deeper and deeper and deeper into Russia. It should have been obvious that what they're going to do is they're going to let the Russian winter defeat you, and which is partially what happened. At least Napoleon did something the crazy Austrian couldn't do, and that was take up Moscow. Napoleon at least took Moscow. Not the power went off, didn't. But at least Napoleon took Moscow. Hitler couldn't take Moscow, and he had tanks. But didn't do him any good, though. Didn't do Napoleon any good to take Moscow, was the point. That was his first. That was one of his. He just wanted to defeat Russia for a variety of reasons. Couldn't beat the British. But, he shouldn't have. Well, Spain became his Vietnam, his Afghanistan. Where it just kept sucking in more and more of his troops to the point to where he couldn't win on either side. But it is a fascinating story, and I'm hoping this movie does that. That's why I bought those 3 books. I have some other books on Napoleon. I have 3 others on Napoleon. So hopefully those are good too. But anyway. But yeah, this is a good book on Midway. Excellent book on Midway. I have some other books, a variety of places I could recommend for this book. Hopefully the sun isn't well. I know the sun's not out, but I know the shininess has a tendency to get in the way. But anyway, I mean, the Battle of Britain is personal because my grandfather fought in it. And that's why it's personal to me. Why it fascinates me, why it interests me. I didn't get to meet my grandfather, really didn't get to know my grandfather, and I wish I had. Battle of Midway, there are several books maybe when I do Midway again, maybe I'll get those books out. But I certainly want to try to do better when I do the Battle of the Bulge. But anyway, well, some of the books I bought this last week. Yeah, last week. Well, hopefully that wasn't too boring for you people. How can we be shiny on one side when the sun is gone? Anyway, behave yourselves, people. You know I'm not going to. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Thank you. Later.